wind howled like a wounded beast on the morning of December 17, 1967, along the wild coast of Cheviot Beach, where waves crashed against the rocks with a nearly primitive violence, as if the ocean itself were warning intruders to stay away. The harsh white light flattened the sand, revealing every glint of foam, every shifting shadow, every sign of an invisible danger. And in the middle of this hostile landscape walked Harold Holt, the Prime Minister of Australia, an undeniably powerful man, yet strangely vulnerable, moving toward the sea with a calculated slowness, as if responding to a silent call. That morning he had risen earlier than usual. Too early, some would later say. He had left his holiday residence before anyone else was awake, walking barefoot across the cold wooden floor like a man who didn't want to wake anyone, or like a man who didn't want to be stopped. He drank half a cup of coffee, left it still warm on the table, then paused for a few seconds in front of the window, staring at the distant sea. A restless, dark, almost threatening sea. A sea that seemed to be waiting for him. When he joined his friends for the day's outing, he was unusually quiet. He smiled, but the smile was mechanical, as if he were imitating a version of himself. He joked, but his laughter rang hollow. Too brief, too forced. He walked quickly, too quickly, like a man in a hurry to get somewhere, or to be done with something. His friends noticed he had forgotten his glasses, that he had left behind an important file he was supposed to review, that he seemed distracted, absent, as if his mind were already elsewhere. On the road to Cheviot Beach, he spoke little. He stared out the window, watching the sea with an almost hypnotic intensity. At one point, he asked the driver to slow down, just so he could observe the waves breaking against the rocks. "The sea is beautiful today," he murmured, but in his voice there was no admiration, no joy, only a strange gravity. When they arrived at the beach, he stepped out of the vehicle before the engine had even stopped. He inhaled deeply, like a man returning to a familiar place, an intimate place. His friends, still behind him, watched in confusion. They knew the sea was dangerous, that the currents at Cheviot Beach were among the deadliest in the country, that even the most experienced swimmers avoided it. But Holt kept walking, without hesitation, without looking back, like a man who had an appointment. An appointment with the sea, an appointment with his fate. He placed his belongings on the sand with an almost ritual precision. First his watch, then his neatly folded shirt, then his shoes, aligned as if someone were meant to find them. He cast one last look toward the horizon, a long, deep, almost melancholic look, then stepped into the water, not cautiously, but with a strange, unsettling determination. The waves struck him, the current pulled at him, but he kept moving forward, straight ahead, without turning back. A witness would later say, "He swam like a man who didn't want to return, and then suddenly he vanished, not swallowed, not dragged under, just gone, as if the sea had closed a door behind him." Seconds turned into minutes, minutes into shouts, then panic. Helicopters arrived, divers searched the depths, boats swept the area, but the sea returned nothing. Not a piece of clothing, not a fragment, not a trace, nothing. And it was this nothing that transformed a tragedy into a national mystery. To understand this disappearance, one must understand the man. Holt was not like other prime ministers, charismatic yet secretive, powerful yet fragile, beloved by the public yet crushed by constant pressure. Those close to him said he had two faces: the public Holt, energetic, smiling, elusive, and the private Holt, silent, thoughtful, sometimes melancholic. He slept little, worked too much, took medication to keep up, lived a complicated personal life, juggling overwhelming political responsibilities and intimate secrets. The sea was his refuge, his escape, his sanctuary, but also his obsession. In the weeks before his disappearance, several witnesses said he had changed. He spoke less, smiled less, seemed preoccupied, sometimes absent, as if his mind were elsewhere. A local fisherman claimed to have seen him walking alone on the beach, hands in his pockets, head down, like a man carrying something heavy. The day before he vanished, he missed an important meeting. On the morning of the tragedy, he joked, but his laughter sounded false. He walked quickly, too quickly, like a man rushing towards something, or away from something. The investigation, conducted under immense pressure, revealed contradictory testimonies, inconsistent details, troubling anomalies. Some said he looked tired, others said he seemed unusually energetic. Some claimed he was pulled under instantly, others that he swam for a few seconds before disappearing. The weather conditions were extreme, but descriptions varied. No official report mentioned signs of struggle, an exceptional current, or a full reconstruction. It was as if the investigation had been conducted quickly, too quickly, as if the goal was not to understand, but to close the case. Theories began to circulate: an accident, plausible but too simple; voluntary disappearance, seductive but unproven; espionage, spectacular but unverifiable; political assassination, whispered but never demonstrated; a medical episode, possible but insufficient to explain the total absence of a body. As the years passed, Harold Holt's disappearance came to resemble a puzzle missing essential pieces, a puzzle no one had ever managed to reassemble, a puzzle whose pieces seemed to have been erased. And yet, despite the years, despite the investigations, despite the theories crashing like waves along the coast, something remains suspended in the air, like a breath no one has ever managed to release. The deeper one goes into this story, the more every answer opens a new question. Every certainty cracks the moment it is examined too closely. The sea keeps its secret. It keeps that precise moment when a prime minister vanished without a trace. It keeps the strange silence that followed, the emptiness that spread across the beach, the shiver that ran through the country. It keeps the questions, the doubts, the whispers. It keeps the lost expressions of those who were there, unable to understand what they had just witnessed. And so, one final question remains, suspended like an invisible thread above that wind-beaten beach. Was Harold Holt taken by the sea, or did he simply choose never to return? No one can answer, and perhaps that is why his story continues to haunt Australia, because it has no ending, because it refuses to have one, because it now belongs to that strange space between reality and legend, where certainties dissolve and mysteries become eternal.